Good morning. What are we doing today? Today we're going to talk about essay structure. Last week, remember, we talked about individual paragraph structures and individual paragraph roles within an essay. Today we are going to talk a little bit about the structure of the essay as a whole. So why are we doing this? Remember, we're trying to recognize that writing is a process that has different steps, including things like creating thesis statements, organizing information and ideas, etc. And we're also working on constructing a persuasive essay or a piece of writing using research from a variety of sources cited in MLA style. So last week we talked about paragraph function. Remember, we talked about what each of the roles are for paragraphs, different kinds of paragraphs within our essay. So the function is, just like I said, the role that paragraphs serve in an essay. So it's kind of like the part in a play an actor might play. So the main lead, a supporting actor, a side character, all of those are different roles, different functions, just like the paragraph structure. So our introductory paragraph is where we introduce a context and posit a thesis statement. So this is where we grab our reader's attention and tell them, hey, this is what I'm going to be talking about. The second paragraph is usually the background or key term paragraph. This usually happens in the second or third paragraph, and it supplies backgrounds and defines key terms or concepts. This is a really important paragraph or two because it tells your readers how to engage with the information that you're talking about. So you may have been researching this topic for a while, and you may be somewhat of a mini expert on the topic, but your readers won't be. So if there's particular terms and things that you're going to be using in the essay, your readers need to understand that right up front. And the background or key term paragraph is where we define that information. Next comes the counterargument paragraph. The counterargument paragraph can happen in a couple of places. You can put it early on in the paper so that you can show your readers, here's what some people have to say, and then spend the entire paper refuting those ideas. Or you can put it towards the end right before your conclusion to tell your readers, hey, I've just spent this whole paper explaining what I know to be right. Here's what some people think, but you can make the decision yourself because I've just provided all of this amazing evidence. The important point is that we need to engage with the counterpoint of view, what the naysayers would say, because we need to show our readers that we've thought carefully about all of the different aspects of a discussion and show that we're not biased. The supporting paragraphs are the bulk of your essay. So these are the piece paragraphs, which we will review in just a minute. But this is where you're going to integrate the most of your research because this is where you're supporting the claim. And finally, we have a conclusion paragraph to sum up the argument while also drawing out implications. So here is the point where you say, this is the things we've talked about, but also, hey, here's why this is important. This is what I want you to do. This is what we need to think about. This paragraph is important, and it's usually the one that we spend the least amount of time on because we're at the end of the essay and it's like, finally, I'm done. But we rush through the paragraph, we rush through the conclusion, and that's the last thing our readers read. So we really want to spend some time making sure that our conclusion is strong. So we talked about the piece paragraphs, the body paragraphs, the support paragraphs. This is the structure for a piece paragraph. We've got the point where you're saying this is what the paragraph is about. You may also have heard of this referred to as a topic sentence. We've got the I, which is the introduction to the quote. This is where we use those signal phrases like Dr. Smith says. E is the evidence. This will be a quote, paraphrase, or summary from your research. C, of course, we want that MLA citation. And the E, which is one of the most important parts, is where you explain what this means to your readers. So remember, you have an idea about how all of this information connects together. You have to tell your readers about that. Otherwise, they won't know what to do with the evidence that you've provided. So that means if you don't have the explanation, all of the hard work of your research kind of goes out the window. So be sure to have the explanation. All right. So that's at the paragraph level. Let's pull the camera back a little bit and think more about the larger picture. So we're going to talk a little bit about how writing a paper is like dating. You probably never thought you'd hear that, right? So let's say you're out with a friend, which at this point seems like a very, very cool thing to do, is go to a coffee shop and have a cup of coffee with a friend, and you see a cutie across the room. You're like, hey, that person looks interesting. I would like to talk to them. How do you start? Well, of course, you're so supremely confident you're going to go over there and deliver one of your best pickup lines, because we all know how effective that is, right? The sarcasm is heavy here. So you've got the choice of 3 different styles, and they're all awesome, i.e. cringeworthy. So option 1. Got some different, how was heaven when you left it? I don't have a library card, but do you mind if I check you out? What does it feel like to be the most beautiful girl in the room? All of these are terrible pickup lines, by the way. But we should notice one thing about all of these pickup lines. They're all questions. We can open our paper with a question. So if you don't scare people away with your questions, your terrible pickup line questions. I don't claim to be an expert in dating, by the way, and I definitely do not condone the use of these pickup lines in a real world setting. So option 1 is a question. Option 2. It took the Titanic 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink, but I fell for you in an instant. Does your skin feel burnt because I think you must have fallen down from heaven and re-entry would have caused your surface temperature to reach approximately 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit? Your eyes have a perfect wavelength of 563.4 nanometers. All of these, again, we notice that they're cringeworthy and pretty terrible pickup lines, but we should notice something similar about all of these. All of these examples have a fact. So, in your introduction, you could open your paper with a fact. Option 3. Take Away Love and Our Earth is a Tomb by Robert Browning. Love Must Be as Much a Light as It Is a Flame, Henry David Thoreau. We've got some Shakespeare, some Einstein. All of these should be pretty clear to us. Option number 3 is to open your paper with, of course, a properly cited quotation. Okay, so you've got their attention. What is the purpose of dating anyway? Well, usually you want to figure out if you want to spend a significant amount of time with that person. Maybe you're trying to make the argument that this person is worth marrying. I know, just go with it. But you can't just come out and say this. You need proof, right? So, we're going to go on some dates. Date number 1. We're gathering evidence. They're on time at the restaurant, they insist on paying for dinner, and you find out they're a dog person. These are all the things that you're going to tell your friends and your parents to prove how awesome your person is. But one date is not enough evidence, right? Most of us aren't going to be rushing into marrying someone after the first date. Right? Date 2. We can't really propose after the first date unless you're a Disney prince, and even then, it's frowned upon. So date 2. They take you to a bookstore, you go to your favorite restaurant where you order an appetizer and dessert, and you find out, hey, they're actually really funny. You're enjoying spending time with this person. Evidence, right? We're gathering evidence. You know your mom, she is a tough cookie. She looks for the worst in everyone, and she wants to make sure that she gets the best for her child. So we better make sure that there's a third date, not only to appease your mom, but you want to make sure that you're not sick of them yet. So date number 3. They take you to a movie they don't particularly want to see, but they know that you like it. They hold the door for you. They let you have the last handful of popcorn. That's a big one in my mind. Every romantic comedy ever, right? So you've gone on your 3 dates. It's time for the tissues. You propose. In your proposal speech, you explain all the reasons why this person is worth marrying. They say yes. You drink some champagne. And they live happily ever after. Okay, so how does this translate into writing a paper? Am I giving you dating advice? Absolutely not. Should you use this advice for dating? Absolutely not. This is about writing a paper, right? So, how does this translate into writing a paper? The pickup line is your first sentence. You want to catch your reader's attention and draw them in. It's also called a hook, and you want to get them hooked right away because you want them to want to read what you've written. Your argument, this person is worth marrying because this is your thesis statement. It has to be something that someone, like your mom, can argue against, and it's the thing that your entire paper is going to be about. Dates 1 through 3 and more, because in our essays we're writing more complicated ideas, so we'll need more than 3 paragraphs. This is where we gather our evidence. If you can't make it through 3 dates, i.e. you can't find 3 main supporting points, then your argument probably won't hold. Note that you can have more than one thing from each date. Each source can provide you with a number of points. This just means you'll have to have a variety of paragraphs. And it's okay if some of your sources also have negative information. This is the counterpoint of view. Maybe this person is actually a cat person, and that's not a deal breaker for you. But it's okay. You're willing to say, in spite of these differences, we can still be together. This is the counterpoint of view where we show that we're thinking about all of the different considerations and we're showing that we're not biased. So the proposal is your conclusion. It should support your thesis, tell your readers what to do about this marriage. So maybe you want your friends and family to celebrate, support, and give you presents. You're not just wrapping it up and saying, hey, we're getting married, huzzah. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to attend the wedding? Do you want them to give you money so that you can elope? What do you want them to do? Finish with a strong conclusion. They said yes. And it's okay to celebrate once your paper is done. Champagne is completely optional. Regardless of what kind of writing you're doing, overall organization is super important. You want to pay careful attention to how all of the pieces of writing fit together to communicate a clear purpose, not a porpoise, a clear purpose, and support your argument if that's what you're writing. In your weekly check-in this week, consider doing one or more of the following. Cut your essay up. Cut each paragraph into its own pieces and rearrange the pieces. Do they fit better in a different way? Even if you don't do this week, I strongly encourage you to do it in a future week. If you don't have a printer, use the cut and paste feature in Microsoft Word. Open up different documents, move things around, see what they look like. Just experiment and see if changing the order of things makes it better or worse. You can always put it back. You can write an outline for the project using the templates in this lecture, or another one that works for you. You can send it to me for feedback. You could also write a thesis statement and then a brief outline of each of the pieces of supporting evidence, as quote, summary, or paraphrase, you would include in the project to support your main idea. So this is kind of like an outline, but it's a little bit more detailed. Of course, the more detail you include in an outline, the easier it will be to transition to writing the rough draft. If you're interested in writing an outline, I've included some additional resources on structure here. Here's a traditional essay structure with an organization activity, organizing an argumentative essay, and some sample outlines and examples. So if in your weekly check-in this week, you'd like some feedback on an outline, here are some options for you. Remember too, we're still here. We're still working on this. We're still all supporting you. The Writing Center is still helping remotely. You can contact Mariah using her, Mariah and Nicole using their emails. Sandy Maynor if you're having problems with disability resources and access. And of course me. You can reach me at this phone number. You can email me. We can set up a phone conversation or a Zoom meeting if needed. I'm here to support you. Your success and well-being are very important to me. I just want to make sure that everyone is doing well, and if you have questions about anything in this week's lecture, just let me know. Thanks, and take care.